there. You are listening to the Girl Talk podcast. My name is Carol.
I'm Kelly.
Hey, I'm Tricia.
And this podcast being brought to you by our friends at Fox Toyota of East Tennessee. We love you so much.
Yay.
Thank you so much for making this episode possible today. Do you have a dream? I'm not talking about what you did last night when you laid your head on your pillow. I'm talking about, do you have a dream in your heart that has never been fulfilled? I'll tell you how this started. We got an email, I think it was, from somebody who was kind of sharing their heart with us, something that they felt called to do. And they used the words, but it's too late. And I think in the midst of life, we can get to that place in our minds where we really think it's too late to fill in the blank, whatever that dream is. And so we wanted to do a podcast about that today because we feel like there's more than one person feeling that way. And whatever God has birthed in your heart, he's done that for a reason. And whatever it is you have to give, the world needs. Yeah. And so you ever had a dream that you thought, meh?
I did, for sure.
Okay.
Forever.
Tell us about your dream.
Well, I wanted to be an actor, like an established actor. And I really wanted to do a movie. Like that was like the big dream.
A romance movie?
That wouldn't hurt. I think that dream is one that I can kind of deconstruct now. I think a lot of it had to do more with wanting to be known or wanting to look like I achieved success. I'd still like to be on one of those Christian movies, Pure Flix or whatever. Hey, call me, cell phone, call me.
And you forever wanted to be on a reality show.
I've auditioned.
You
and
tried
sent in tapes.
She tried to get me to go on The Amazing Race.
Oh yeah,
with her.
that would be so much fun to watch.
I still think we could do that. Why not? I mean,
it
why
would
not?
be entertaining. I'm not sure we would get outside of Asheville,
but the rest of us would laugh really, really hard.
Sure
I don't
you
like to
would.
fly, which is the funny part, because I was like,
Right?
oh, that'll be great. I'll just take a lot of medication, and Carol will wake me up when it's time to do the
No, Carol will not.
The
Carol will
challenges.
be, off in some little town somewhere telling a story, with somebody she doesn't know, making friends.
You'll make friends.
The point of this
in
is
China
not to
or
make
wherever
friends.
it is.
Exactly.
Y'all would lose very quickly.
Very quickly. Yeah.
I applied to be on The Amazing Race twice. I applied to be on Survivor 3 times. I don't even remember all the ones I submitted to. I think the desire was to be famous, because I thought if I'm famous, that must mean that I'm liked,
Sure,
or that I've made it or I've done something good. And I think that is not
So
correct dream.
Let's hang out there, because I don't think you're alone in that. I think some of us have a dream based on an internal need that we have to be fulfilled.
Right.
We got really deep one day. We couldn't find you, but we got really deep up, and I think we scared all of our coworkers. I asked Tricia this like big, fat, hairy question, because she's got a background in social work and psychology and all that stuff. So
she
I asked
has
her
good
this.
answers.
I
does?
like big hairy questions.
She did, and I was like, let's talk about this, and like everybody like retreated into their cubicle
Quietly,
got really
sunk
small,
down.
and nobody was like saying anything.
What was the question?
The question was, I forget what it was.
It was the
Talking about
difference
abandonment.
between rejection and abandonment.
Yes.
And times in our lives when we've kind of dug through that.
So there might be a piece of that rejection in that feeling to be famous or to be known.
For sure.
I think a lot of the dreams that I have had in my life have been that same thing. You want to fulfill a dream, because then you will be important in someone's eyes. It will give you more value.
It's going to fill your cup.
Right. But
in
the truth
some way.
is, you have all the value right now. You don't have to do anything to earn that. What about you, Kel? You've ever had a big dream that you want to share with
Well,
us?
I have. My first really big dream was to run an orphanage. I wanted to be Mrs. Hannigan from A&E, but I wanted to be the nice version.
The
of Mrs.
nice
Hannigan.
version.
I was going to say, she was a drunk.
No, she was. She was a drunk, and she was very mean.
Yes.
That's a nice dream.
I wanted to flip all of that on its head and have like a gazillion kids around me all the time.
You would be so good
or
at that.
Like
Yes.
foster and adopt kids, have a whole gaggle of them. But that was not the dream that God placed on my husband's heart.
Oh, see, it's got to be a two-part dream there.
So God did place my husband on my heart and in my life. And so clearly that wasn't the dream that he had laid out for the two of us.
Right.
Since we only have one kid and I don't run an orphanage.
You kind of do because you work here.
Yeah.
It's kind of like running an orphanage.
She keeps us in line a little bit, does she not?
Well, she said she just felt like, she was in an insane asylum and then she went to work and it was confirmed or something.
Yeah.
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 We all need that little sign on our desk that said, if you're not crazy before you get here, we'll make you that way.
We'll
Exactly.
make you that way.
Right.
We'll
You know
help
what? I think the reason nobody shares their dreams, I'm going to say this out loud. I can't even believe I'm going to say this out loud. I'm afraid that some of us don't share our dreams because we are afraid that we will then be held accountable to do the next thing to get to our dream.
Sure.
There's a piece of that.
Well, I also think we don't share our dreams because for many of us, it's painful. I really wanted to have lots of kids, and I don't.
Yeah.
And I have the best kid ever.
Yes,
the best
you do.
kid on
He
the
is
planet.
wonderful.
Super clever and friendly and loving and
Yes.
all the things. Fun. But I wanted a dozen of him.
Yeah.
And it's painful to think that I don't have that dream. And that dream will likely not be fulfilled, at least not in the way that I think it'll be fulfilled. So I think we also don't talk about our dreams because they bring up really painful memories sometimes.
Well, and I think, too, a second part to that is because they rarely look like we thought they would.
True.
Like the dream that we have in our mind, we have it playing out a certain way, and I can't think of one instance I've heard where the dream's gone exactly like you thought it would. Like,
Oh, right.
Sure.
It may not look like you think it would. God may open up an opportunity later in life, or you may have lots of grandkids, or whatever.
Yeah.
Right.
But you won't get there the way that you thought you would get there.
Yeah. So what about you, Carol? What's been your dream?
I don't want to answer this question.
You've got
So, y'all know I love to write.
Yes. Yes. All those journals we're burning when you die.
Yes, please
we
do.
promise.
Because oh my word. I was reading one a couple of days ago and I was like, oh my word. I really didn't realize I was this crazy, but I am. And there is proof. So I've always wanted to write a book. But I have always stopped short of that, one, because I hate editing. I like just saying what I'm saying, and that's it. I'm done with it. So I could never write a book because there's you have to edit like 80 billion times before it's the final
Girl,
thing.
you and I need to partner together because I love
was gonna
editing,
say.
but I
Right?
don't like writing.
And then I could act it out
Woo!
in a movie version.
Here we go.
Let's do it. Great, but seriously,
Pure Flicks,
it's going to be the movie.
Where are the Kendrick brothers when you need them, right?
exactly. I'm
It's
wondering, but no, you really. I can see that you have a lot to share.
Yes.
That a book would be very valuable.
Okay, but here's the thing that I do to myself is that I kind of push that down because I think everybody's already written all the books about stuff.
No.
What do I have different to
you
say?
You
then-
have your story.
What
Yeah.
are you agreeing with
Yes.
me? Or are
No,
you
I'm
gonna,
agreeing with
Okay.
Tricia.
Oh,
You've got you.
Finally, someone agrees with me.
Girl, I would totally read a book that you wrote,
Yeah,
even if
you've
it's on a
got-
topic that everybody else has already written on.
Because it's
Yeah.
your story.
I
and
guess.
It's your life. It's like your testimony.
Yeah.
Nobody else has the same one exactly. It might look the same or have some shared elements, but nobody has lived through it the way you've lived through
Right.
it.
And the same perspective. Nobody else has the same perspective on
Right.
whatever the topic is.
Yeah.
The value of sharing our story is big.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I think so. Maybe one day. But I really hate the editing process. I want to do it one time and be done. That's why I loved blogging for a while. I blogged for a while. And I loved it because it would stir in my head all week, and then I would write the blog in 15 minutes, and then it was out there and done, and I didn't have anything else to do. I mean, other than people commenting or saying something to me, when they saw me out and about somewhere. Nobody, 3 people read that blog. So I can't.
3 people whose lives were impacted.
Well, I don't know about that.
Absolutely.
But a lot of it was, processing through life stuff of what I was going through. And so I want to be done with it. I don't want to go through all the things and jump through the no.
I think you could write a really good book based on the situation with your mom, how your mom's health has, the journey that you've been on taking care of her, because you have had some funny moments, laugh out loud funny moments.
Yes.
But also some really painful moments and everything in between. And I think that's very valuable for anyone going through a situation like that.
Yeah.
But the value of telling your story, you, Carol, you, Kelly, the value,
You,
my
Tricia.
friend listening, the value of telling your story is so powerful.
Yeah.
And I think that's just, we should all encourage each other to do that.
Yeah, but I also think too that there's a fear, like once it's out into the world, whatever your art or gift or dream is, once it's out in the world, like you can't take it back. Like you don't know who's gonna. And there's that fear of like, ooh, what does it mean? And
I do know what you mean, because so looking apart from, like, we were looking at my dream from childhood about being in a movie, famous, whatever. But I have a dream right now, and that is to be completely freed from fear.
Ooh, yeah.
And so that's not like a dream like, oh, I want to, make it to the top of this particular career ladder. I want to be completely free of fear. And I have had these claustrophobic reactions ever since 9/11. I've shared them before. And I want to be completely free of that.
Yeah.
And you guys have been so sweet and cheered me on when I get in elevators. I don't want to have to be worried about elevators anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
that's a dream of mine, is to be able to be completely free. But here's the problem, like what you're saying. What if I did that once or twice, but then the fear came back, and my story was already out there, and like now I'm being untrue or something.
Right. People are like, I thought you were done with that.
Right. Aren't you done with that?
I think that's part of what's beautiful about sharing stories is that they are roller coasters.
Okay.
And rarely do any of us have a something and then we fix that something and it never ever comes back again.
True.
There
I think the Bible mentioned that. It's like sanctification or something.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Somewhere.
True.
Take a ride on the Carol coaster. Yeah.
Woo!
I'm telling
Arms
you.
up. But forgiveness is a process like that.
Sure.
And I guess freedom sometimes. But you hear about people that are completely healed.
Sure.
I was
Absolutely.
listening to a
That
testimony
happens.
this morning, a woman who was healed from a terrible, like a severe Lyme disease, and she got up and walked. And I was like, I want that. I want that. You open a door and you go through the door and you're done.
Right.
But it doesn't always happen like that.
Right. And I think it rarely happens that way. In all honesty, I mean, I think a lot of the times it's a process. It's a journey.
Yeah.
It's a 1 step forward, 2 steps back, 14 steps forward, 5 steps back.
But here's the thing. I think if it's a one-time deal, I'm not taking away anything, but nothing ever happens for me that way. I have to learn a lesson like 40 million times. But God's like, seriously? We've been dealing with this for 28 years, But I have to learn it so many overtimes. But I think that makes the story even richer.
Yes, absolutely.
Because I don't want to hear from somebody who's never struggled. That's like I always get tickled when people who don't have kids try to give parenting advice. I'm like, oh my word, you need to sit down right now, because if you ever have a child, whoo-wee, you in for it. Because I used to do that. You go in restaurants, sit down for dinner. My child's never going to act that. Well, lo and behold, all these years later, you have a child that doesn't use utensils and stuffs mac and cheese in their face with their hands. I mean, just whatever. But I think that the part of the story is the process of the story. I don't think it's. Because I think you're right. It very rarely happens one time and that's it. It's great when God heals and He does that. When I think of healing, I think of like physical challenges like cancer or, some kind of disease but there are struggles that go underneath that, addiction's another one, if someone's healed from that, there's still struggles. They aren't the same, but that's what makes the story rich and makes it full, I think.
So what steps do we take forward then to help ourselves accomplish our dreams?
Well, I think one of the things that we've identified is a barrier of fear, for sure. I think another barrier would probably be we feel like we don't have enough time.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go on a little rabbit trail here.
Okay.
Because, oh my word, has the Lord been working on me, y'all. So, Apple created this little thing where you can look on your device and see how much time you've spent on it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Yep. It's always more than you want it to be.
Oh. And so I have, like, the Lord was like, you say you don't have time for fill in the blank. Well, you had 4 hours and 28 minutes today to look at your phone.
No, right. Yeah, that'll punch you right in the gut.
Help me, Jesus. And I mean that with every word of it. So I think we have to look at the barriers, but I think we also have to set our intentions, and we have to say, what are we wasting time on? Like a lot of times. Like if you look at I'm just using this as a round number because it was the case for me. I'm not proud of it, but there was one day I was on my phone for 4 hours.
Oh, yeah. That's a typical thing for me.
Okay. Yeah. You multiply that by 5 days, that's 20 hours. That's 2.5 work days.
Wow.
Well, what can we accomplish in 20 hours?
Like, seriously, you spent 2.5 work days on your phone? Doing what?
Right.
Doing stuff that completely drains your soul.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Doing stuff that doesn't encourage you, that doesn't fill your mind with the things of God. I mean,
there is the Bible app.
Yeah, but
So that's good.
I'll
use that.
I'll just be honest. I'd use the Bible app, but if I was to break down my time, it'd be very little compared to everything else. So I think you have to identify the barriers and then set some intentions.
Mm-hmm.
And I along with that, I would say for myself, maybe you guys too, be okay with failing.
Oh, yeah, that's a great one.
I mean, I think so much of the time I won't take that first step because I'm afraid it's not going to go well. And sometimes it doesn't. And then I'm like, well, that's it for that. But if you can somehow be okay with that, knowing it is a process, just like what we talked about. It is a process. Just like the healing sometimes can be a process. It is a process.
So let's bring that down even further. The first time that you were in a play or acted, were you great?
No.
So why in the world do we expect ourselves to be great at something we've never done before?
Yeah, think about walking. What if little kids said, well, I wasn't able to do it in those first couple of tries.
Totally
I'll
done.
not be walking for the rest of my life. No, we keep trying. Those little kids keep trying. And we should keep trying.
What did you do after that first? You kind of felt like, this is something I'd like to pursue. What did you do after that?
Well, I think you just keep trying. You look for the little wins. I think that's what, and I'm thinking about acting, but more specifically, I'm thinking about tennis. I've been taking up tennis lately. And I'm so afraid of failing and messing up that you end up not playing well. But if I can go onto the court thinking to myself, there'll be a win today. There'll be a loss too, but there'll be a win. Like I'll learn something.
Yeah.
I'll try something. And at the end of it, can you go back and go, well, what did I learn from that? That was one good thing.
Yeah.
Even if you lose 6-0, 6-0, there was still something that you learned from it.
Yeah.
And the same is true with acting or anything, really. If you can just give yourself a little bit of grace in those beginning stages and even in the later stages, because there's always going to be those times where we do mess up.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I have this smaller dream of being a worship leader. I would love
Really? I never knew that.
That's wonderful.
Well, yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's like not run an orphanage kind of big, but it is,
that's pretty big.
To be able to help really lead my church in worship.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But one of my fears, I sing soprano, so I don't sing harmony very well. I don't know harmony very well. And so I'm really afraid to get up there and do that because I can't sing harmony very well. And so, but I need to
Never
learn.
heard Natalie Grant.
Well, yeah, that's true. So I need to reach out to somebody and ask for help in learning that skill.
Arts,
my friend Cynthia, who runs our choir, I'm sure would love
That's
to help
amazing.
me learn those kinds of things. And it's kind of the same thing with tennis. Having somebody who could help us learn better skills and do better things, take away some of that fear of stepping out there and doing those things.
Can we kind of
hold you accountable?
Yeah. Can we kind of give you that little loving nudge to do that?
Yeah, maybe Cynthia's listening to this podcast and she
Cynthia,
will also hold me accountable
Cynthia.
to that.
Digits.
I feel like her things are so noble and mine are so selfish, but that is wonderful. I think that is wonderful, Kelly.
I can sing, but I can't exercise. And look at you and all the exercise you do. That's very noble.
I just went to the chiropractor yesterday. That's what ends up happening there. I think that's wonderful.
Yeah, I think it is too. And here's the thing. I mean, we've identified some barriers. We've talked about, ways around those barriers, actionable steps that you can take. Only you know what your dream is. Because chances are you think, they'll think that's silly. If that's what you think when you think of your dream, then that's your dream. Because I think everybody thinks that at the beginning. And so one of the things is to tell somebody, but the other thing is to talk to God about it. Have him just lay that before him and and he will do this. He's so sweet this way to peel back the layers and to see what's behind that. Now, I have no doubt if you had been an actress, you would be a phenomenal actress and that you would be making a big difference in people's lives and you would be a bright light wherever you go because you can't help it. Like when you come into a room,
that's right.
You can't help it.
So true.
And so I have no doubt. But I will, and I don't think all of that is necessarily, you know, a desire to want to be known. I mean, I think we all have that desire. That's why we need Christ, you know.
Yeah.
But there are godly actors in Hollywood right now who are making a difference in a really dark place in the world.
Yes. Oh, yes.
And making
Think
a
of some of
difference.
these movies.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and so I think that we have to lay that dream before God, and He will so lovingly kind of peel back the layers and see what's at the core of that. And then once you do that and He heals that core need, which is, you know, something we all need to do. But once He heals that, imagine how free you will feel to go and do whatever it is.
Wow.
Because then you can't fail.
Yeah.
Does that make
powerful.
sense?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, it's really powerful, actually.
And I think prayer changes everything.
Oh,
yes,
absolutely.
for sure.
I mean, it may not make you a famous actress in Hollywood. It may not make you a worship leader on a platform at church. It may not make you a New York Times bestseller author. But it changes our heart. It changes our desire. It also changes our understanding of what God's will is for our lives and the purpose He's called us to.
And here's the thing, and I don't know if this is true in you guys' lives, but there was one specific dream that I had, and God said no because I think He knew it would be harmful for me.
Protecting you. Mm-hmm.
Like, because underneath that core were things that I wasn't finding in Him. And so He said no, and I dealt with that, maybe a little bit of a disappointment at some point. I dealt with that because I thought, God, why did you say no to this? You know, it's so noble sounding, but at the heart of it was something in me that I needed to be fulfilled. And He said no because I think He was protecting me from myself, actually. And so that happened. That whole process will take place when you lay that before Him and say, here it is.
And oftentimes we'll find that God has bigger dreams for us than we ever had for ourselves.
More satisfying.
Oh, yes.
You know, bigger is bigger, maybe not in the world sense, but so much more meaningful and so much more satisfying.
Right.
And I think just even looking at your situation, and who knows what He's got in planned for you, because if you have a heart to adopt or love on kids like that, he'll I think He'll use that for the rest of your life. But think about the satisfying relationship that you have with your son. It's inspiring. And so you've got one precious jewel that you love on. And I see you being such an amazing mom, loving him so much, and how satisfying and meaningful it is with the two of you instead of there being 20 of you. You know?
Right. It's divided.
Yeah. But who knows what can happen next.
Exactly.
But that's a good example of, you know, I have this dream, but God says, listen, let's do this first. Embrace this, and then I'll take you where you need to go next.
And could it be that whatever you're doing now is preparing you for the fulfillment of that dream?
Yes.
You know.
So don't stop dreaming.
No. That's a song, isn't it? No,
Don't stop believing.
Going back to my 80s roots there.
Don't make me. Sorry.
Before this gets off the rails here. But we want you to know that we do believe that God's planted a dream in your heart, and we want to be an encouragement in that. And so if you don't have anybody that you can tell, hey, share it with us. I promise you, y'all, we need a video someday when we get an email from you. We kind of do the happy dance around the office, and we kind of celebrate that all day long. I think we've even, you know, had a celebration coffee once or twice around that. But it really is a treat to get to hear from you and to hear your dream. We don't take that lightly. We want this to be a place, a community where you can share those dreams and to get encouragement towards that, or to encourage you to spend time with God and see if that's really what He wants for you. And so you are welcome to get in touch. You can connect with us on the Girlfriends of the Girl Talk podcast page. If you haven't joined that yet, please do. Also want to tell you, if you are a girlfriend, there is a public Girl Talk podcast page where you can actually share these podcasts. And if you want to bless us, share the podcast. That's the way other people find out about us. That's the way we get in front of more people. And that's honestly the way we get to share Jesus with more folks. And that's the point of all of this. And so if you want to bless the Girl Talk team, would you do that? Would you share it with a friend who maybe has a dream in their heart as well? You're welcome to email us, girltalk@thelightfm.org. want to say a great big thank you, because this is kind of a dream of ours. The Girl Talk podcast is. And without the help of Fox Toyota of East Tennessee, it would not happen. And so we are eternally grateful for their support, for their encouragement, their daily just reaching out to us and letting us know what this podcast means to them. So thank you, Fox Toyota. We love you guys so much. We appreciate your support and encouragement. And I think this is a good place to say, hey, you, get in touch. Tell us about your dream. Once again, the email, what is the email?
girltalk@thelightfm.org.
That's what the email is. See, that's why we need all three of us, because I lose my mind some days.
I didn't know.
Yeah, there it is. girltalk@thelightfm.org. We love you. We're praying for you. We'd love to hear from you. And we'll see you next time we gather around these microphones for the Girl Talk podcast.